started.
Get the poison out with knight f3. Okay, let's just play knight f6, see what his idea is. English. An English type opening. So I can play, let's play kind of a Nemzo Indian, see if he goes into that or allows that. He does. Okay, attacks the bishop right away. This is different than the normal Nemzo Indian. In the normal Nemzo Indian, you take the knight and he has to take back with the b pawn. Here he can take with the d pawn if he wants, opening up a file in the center. Might have been better. Okay, let's put the c pawn up there. So we've kind of transposed into a typical Nemzo Indian type position. Let's put the d pawn up there. If he takes the c pawn, I'm not worried about it. I want to take back with the pawn here, not the knight, to slow down the advance of his pawns and to keep a stake in the center. If the knight were there, he could just push ahead with c4 and d5. Okay, he's got a pin, but I am going to castle. Then maybe a bishop move. Where does the bishop want to go? Maybe here? I'm going to play my knight to d7 so I can recapture that pawn with the knight. So I want to get the bishop out of the way first. So that's what I was playing there. And he goes after the bishop. So is that good? Is that a good plan? I don't want to let him have the bishop. I don't particularly want him to exchange. I could have dropped to g6, but he could just trade for the bishop. I'd rather preserve that for now. He's already got the bishop pair, so it's nice to have at least one bishop so you can oppose one of his bishops and eliminate the pair that way. Okay, so he's looking at h7 there. Let's kick that bishop. If the bishop goes there, I can attack it with the knight. But he can always go to the square, the square e5. So now this knight is covering e5, but he also has a square d6 for the bishop, because the knight blocks the queen's view of d6. Kind of annoying. So I'm going to live with those pieces there for a little bit. You know, I should have thought of the move g5. Yeah, whenever you see two pieces in the same row like that, particularly if they're on the fourth rank or fifth rank if the colors are reversed, you got to think about these pawn forks. So is the pawn fork any good? If we back up just a second here. So he played here. Yeah, I could have played the pawn fork right away. Take, and then he saves the knight. Man. Yeah, I guess he can escape the fork by taking the knight. So getting the knight out of the way helped in a way, but I should have at least thought of that tactic. Okay. Anyway, what I was planning to play was rook c8, so let's get on with it. Now, knight to here just gets exchanged off. I could push this pawn and, you know, prevent these pieces from coordinating on this diagonal. And I could also consider knight g5. Maybe I'll push the pawn first. Knight g5, and then or if the bishop moves, I can even play knight e5. Knight e5, the other knight to f6. Or maybe the queen comes out somewhere. But that seems like a good square. If I could coordinate the knight's attack on f7, or queen to... No, the queen is not reaching h4 because the knight's covering that. So bishop g5, I suppose, is possible. Bishop g4, threatening takes, takes, and queen to h4. Now that pawn is adequately defended for now. I could put this bishop back on this diagonal. So this threatens knight to g3. That's a double attack against the rook and the queen. Queen moves, and I take the rook.
Server announcement.
Okay, so he just gets out of that. And I don't want to be defending this weak pawn here, so let's just play b6. And let's start looking around for other things I can play to advance my position. So knight f6. Or bishop here. And knight f6 seems like a logical choice. If he plays f3 to chase the knight away, I can either take his knight or I can retreat to the square d6. I have that. Now let's see, if I play if I play g5 here, hitting the bishop. Bishop goes here, 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 here. Can go to that square. But I guess I have to take care of that knight first. So all right, we'll go back to this square. f6 defends the d-pawn. Now I can put some pressure on his e-pawn here, maybe, and then kick the bishop. And I'm thinking of knight maneuver like knight to h5, hitting the bishop, and if the bishop retreats, taking on e6, e3, taking on e3. I guess if I were white, I would be thinking about this pawn push, e3 to e4. Is that any good? Pawn takes, bishop takes. But after pawn takes, it opens up the rook. Just kick the bishop first. Now I could go to this square. Could I take it? I don't think so. Knight takes appears to be answered pretty well by h takes. So let's go all the way back. And g5 is still possible, hitting the bishop. And maybe desirable to stop these onrushing pawns. So does what I'm worried about here is white playing the move g5 before I get in g5. Pawn takes, bishop takes. That's a pretty good post for that bishop. Okay, just moved this bishop out of the way. So let's try this g5 idea. And when the bishop goes there, I was planning knight to d7, hitting the bishop. That's too good a post for the bishop to keep it, allow it to keep that post. Now he can go to d6, or he could try and defend the bishop with the move f4. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So why don't I exchange? Oh, but he's kind of trapped the bishop there. Not quite. The bishop always has a square to go to. I can play f6 and the bishop goes to d6. Rook e6. Where does the bishop go? Goes back. And then I play, let's try this. Well, the queen could come here to defend the bishop, but I can try the same move here, which is a5 to just chase it off of this diagonal. So this bishop may be trapped. He could push ahead with f5 here, blocking in this bishop. I would win a piece. And he would be a pawn up. Is that right? No, pawns would be even, so I'd just be up a piece. But it would take me a while to untangle after that. So if he had something going there, but it's a closed position then. So I don't know how he would survive that in the long run. I think in the long run I'd do better. Yeah, it's just interesting. On both of these diagonals, there's no safe square for that bishop and no targets. You know, if the knight was still here. Yeah, he did play that. If the knight was still here, then the bishop could trade itself for the knight. So now the queen could come and attack the rook. The bishop could go there, and my pieces are all a bit awkward. Okay, we should start by rerouting this knight. Or just defending the rook. Queen there is a move. Or moving the king and getting out of the way of my bishop. Okay, I think, where is that knight going? If I go here, I could come out this way. If I go here, there's no home for the knight on any of these squares. So let's just get the knight out of the way and try and get back in the game this way. Knight to c6 to a5 to b3 might be useful. So fortunately, yeah, it's kind of a closed position, so I have time for this sort of slow plan. And he's trying to infiltrate, but I think I can defend everything. I can play queen to d2, d7, queen d7 here, chasing his queen. And if he goes to a6, it defends a7, queen on d2. And then I could play the other rook over to e8 and then go after the e-pawn, the backwards e-pawn. And then I could move my king and try and get my light-squared bishop into the game. Yeah, so he gangs up there. Okay, so let's first try and sort of isolate that queen from communication with the rook. I'm giving up a pawn here, but I think I need to give up something to try and get the game going, get my pieces in action. I'm also threatening, yeah, knight b3 threatens knight to d2, yeah. So I could take this pawn. He takes with the bishop. I think that just helps him. Why don't I just let him take? Or push. If he pushes, I take. He takes, well, if he pushes right away, I'll take the queen. So he's got to do that. Something about the queen first, and then I have to worry about this pawn. The pawn push here might trap the rook. Is that possible? he just supports the queen. Okay, let's trade queens. And trade this pawn off so my rook can stay here. And then try and get my bishop into the game. So bishop to g8 to bishop g8 to d5. He could go after the a pawn with the move rook a2, but my rook controls the a1 square. I mean my knight. My knight controls the a1 square, which is handy. And I can defend with one rook by playing rook to rook c7. Okay, but let's continue with the bishop plan. Okay, yeah, so he retreats a bit, attacks the knight. If he takes, I take, he gets another pawn. So let's reroute that knight again.
Check.
Yeah, he's at a check. I should have done something about that. Okay, I'm going to double my rooks and then use one of them to oppose if he takes on a7, which is very logical. I'll play rook to rook d8, and then with the intention of playing rook d7. So what's the situation now? Yeah, he's managed to get another pawn off. 1, 2 against 3. So he's a pawn up. But I've got a knight. Yep. So rook here, a king here, so
Check.
I can play rook to, so I can oppose the rook. And if he checks
Check.
me again, I can step up here. I'm going to lose another pawn, huh? Oh man. But now the knight can come into the game, and I'm going to start mopping up his pawns pretty soon here. Knight to here, to there, and to attack that pawn. Ah. That's interesting. Okay, going after the rook. I can't play my knight to that square, can I? I can play bishop to here. Can I trap his rook? King here, rook there, check, king here, and the rook runs out. Maybe this way. King here, check, king here. And the rook has no squares. Yeah, the knight's still hanging, I guess. So I have to defend the knight. Oh man. Gotta defend the bishop. It's not so easy, is it? Okay. Now his rook is really cornered, so let's just activate my rook. Gobble up a pawn or two. Yeah, he needed to activate his rook, so where do I want to go? Just stopping that pawn and preparing to play this move. Oh man, I keep, that was not a good move. Okay, I need to guard that square. I need to move my king out of the way so I can move my rook somewhere. That was not a good move because I just blocked my rook, and my rook has no moves at all. So step aside with the king. Try and find a useful square for that rook. Stay near the pawn so I don't lose him.
Check.
Yeah. Okay. Activating rook. So rook here, knight here wins this pawn. Rook h3. And I can't play the knight to there, huh?
Check.
Yeah. So do I want to take with the knight or the rook? The knight's guarding this pawn might be useful.
Check.
And he can't check me here because of the pawn, fortunately. So let's go after this pawn.
White forfeits on time.
Yeah. So anyway, good game. He ran out of time, but I think I should be able to eventually win this. So I'll do a postmortem and see you guys later. Bye.